Instagram on. Hold on. So we are. That's the only thing I don't like about going live on Instagram. It's like one extra step. Alrighty, hold on, man. Come on, Instagram. There we go. We are live on Instagram. We're on
Oh,
X. We're on Joel's YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. So good morning, everyone. Yep. Carla is gonna be popping in, and hopefully Chris from Invest Lynchburg. But yeah, I'm surprised Joe's here on time. He's usually the one we're waiting for,
1 in a million.
or he just streams the channels without even knowing it. Streams the lives.
Every 7 views adds up.
I know. I
Seven
saw.
views at a time.
I was like, did that guy stream our live and he's not even on it? I thought you were practicing.
I was. Well, every blind squirrel finds an acorn. I've been trying to do that the last 3 times. I finally figured out how to do it, how to stream it, connect it, and it's not even my turn.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks for the support, man. But yeah, how you been, man?
Good, man. I've got a couple things I'm working on from just kind of a social media, building that community engagement standpoint. So I've got a little bit of a story kind of plan that I've been kind of mapping out for today. So a 5-part thing today. And then I've got a reel that just kind of took off yesterday. So
Which
like
one was that? I seen you
20,
posting a lot of stuff. Which one? Which
yeah,
one
it's like
went off?
21,000 views so far and like 50 something comments. And what I decided to do is like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm just overthinking this. I'm gonna just take a couple accounts that I follow that are already doing it, and just see what's doing well. And okay, maybe I'll do something similar in terms of like structure or hooks. And this guy had a reel that like popped off, and it was just a Twitter post um, about comparing a couple different portfolio options. And I just kind of took it on my own little lane and talking about comparing real estate versus stocks over a certain time frame and blah blah blah. And it just for some reason it just hit the algorithm. So
Oh, that's the one that went off. Well, good morning, Chris, or whatever it is for you in Virginia. But now are you ready to feel stupid now, Joe, that Chris is here? But so I don't know if you two met. So he's the Invest Lynchburg
mm-hmm.
on X and his YouTube channel. But welcome, Chris.
Welcome. You guys can hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us. Hopefully Carla will hop on soon. But yeah, how's that? Why don't you kind of fill everyone in, Chris, your kind of story and who you are?
Sure. I think Mark did an interview a while back with me, maybe about a week ago. Kind of started investing in 2019 and just progressed naturally throughout the last couple of years. And then last year really took off a little too fast and still trying to stabilize that. But, just kind of, and on the personal side, I also go to school and I teach in addition to my W-2.
Yeah, so Carla's here. Thanks for joining us, Carla.
Good morning.
But we figure Chris is gonna have a different take on this since he's an educator. So I think people are waiting to see what his thoughts on this are. But Carla, Chris, he goes by Invest Lynchburg on X, and then Carla's also on X. Kind of that's where you guys are mainly on. And oh, Carla, you don't know Joe? Also, Joe's also on there.
Hey, Joel,
On
how are you?
on X, he goes by Stair Step Method. He's also known Strive for 25 is his podcast and YouTube channel. So
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I'm
So
fairly new to X. I got my start over on TikTok, and that's where I have most of my client followers. I have found X to be a really great place to collaborate with peers.
What's your TikTok handle?
It's values-based finances.
Wait, what is it?
Values-based
Oh, value.
finances.
yeah.
Yeah, I should have put that in my little name
Well,
thing.
I have your X, all your guys' social. Well, I don't have your. I'm not much on TikTok, so but I have Carla. I got your X link
Mhm.
in the comments, and Chris's link and Joe's multiple links because he has like 5 handles he goes by, but Joe's on there. But yeah, so kind of maybe our main topic for today will start with kind of maybe our thoughts on the education system, and maybe it's not broken. The title says broken, but Chris might have a different view on it. And we got Curtis tuning in, PE turned RE. He's also another educator, so he's kind of intrigued by wanting to know what we may say on this. So he is currently a seventh. What did you say? Seventh and 7th grade PE teacher.
Oh,
8th
very
grade
good.
health. Yeah, so that's why his handle is PE turned RE. So he has a new YouTube channel out there too. So go check that out. He's talking about real estate and finance and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Who wants to start on this or who has a thought that they might want to put out there. But I do know that like student debt, for college is a big issue, right? So that's one big talking point and why a lot of people are maybe reevaluating the education system and whether or not they should go to college. But it starts even before that, right? Like Curtis, he teaches middle school, and I'm sure it's kind of where it begins, right? So maybe who wants to start on this?
I'll actually go just because it asks a question here. It says, what do you teach? I teach macroeconomics for a small university out here in Virginia. In addition, I work at a larger university in my W-2 as an analyst. So I'll answer that question. And then I can jump into I do think that it is two separate, like you said, where there's what they call overseas primary school and then your secondary education. And I think that there is arguments for yes, it is, and arguments for yes, it isn't. So as an economist, you would say on the one hand and on the other hand. And I do think that there is something to be said about the undersupply of certain trades that we have. And anecdotally, I work with a lady. She has a college sophomore. He has about 10 friends in his group of friends. They all went to school. He is the only one after 2 years that is still in school. The rest have all decided they're going to go into the trades. Excellent choice for them. On the other hand, I do believe that there is something about codifying learned knowledge into summaries that we can explain to the general public. And I just think that we talked about it, Mark, on our previous conversation. We are all unique. And I think that sometimes the individual makes the education rather than the education making the individual. And I'll stop at that.
Go ahead, someone.
Well, I'll go next and just add that when you told me the topic of today, my initial thought was, God, I don't have anything to say about that. And just this introduction has 10 different things ping-ponging in my head that I'd like to talk about. So I'm just going to bullet point it really quickly. So I teach financial literacy. By trade, I'm a fractional CFO. But as my pro bono work and kind of, I'll call it my mission work, is I teach people how to get out of credit card debt and basic financial literacy. And the thing that I hear from all of them is, I wish I had learned this in school, or my parents never taught me this. Why wasn't I taught these things when I was growing up, before I was entering the job force, or while I was in college? So that's one whole topic that I think we could pull apart. A second one is, as I've entered into the creator economy and have participated on social media and worked on building digital courses and learning from people who have turned their livelihood into something that's online instead of in a brick and mortar building. That's a really hot topic for me. I follow Dan Coe and have been a really devoted learner of his for a couple of years now. And he preaches the digital economy and how currently our universities are not up to par with that they need to put a larger focus on classes and fields, I guess, that will prepare the next generation for an almost majority of digital economy. And then lastly, what you said about the trades, and how each kid is unique. So I have a nephew who, when he graduated, didn't want to go to college, and the family was like, "Oh, what's this kid gonna do with his life?" And he's now 4 years post that, and is training to be a master electrician, has an incredible job future and salary future, and it's what he loves. He hated school, and for him to have gone on to secondary education would have really done him a disservice to what he wanted for his life trajectory. So those are kind of 3 topics from my own personal experience.
What about you, Joel? Because you also you have young kids, a little bit younger than mine. I mean, what's your thoughts on what is your plans maybe for them?
Well, as I'm hearing Carla talk about this, right? Just for example, credit card debts. There are certain strategies that are out there, because I'm in mortgage, right? So the biggest limiting factor that I see people have for people who want to buy a house but aren't ready, it's I don't have enough money saved for down payment and closing. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. Now, credit cards, improving scores, that's also a piece of the puzzle too. But they kind of go hand in hand with cash. You can't pay down credit cards unless you have money saved. And so all the strategies are great, but if you don't have the money saved, it doesn't really matter. And so kind of going back to one of the other lives that we had previously, Mark, is like, okay, if we're going to have some sort of financial literacy being taught in schools, whether it be grade school or high school, who's going to do it? Is it going to be the people that are in the education system who are coming from a certain background, or is it going to be people outside that are in the game that are donating their time to do it, who actually have that real world experience? Because again, all the information out there is great, but until you actually get in the game and do something, whether it be real estate or stocks or building a business online or once you're actually in the game, real world is way different than a book or information. So, my thought process is if I'm thinking about, I've got 2 boys that are going to be 5 in August. If I'm thinking about them in high school, 16, 17, 18, I'm thinking I want them to be thinking like an entrepreneur. I want them to be thinking, okay, it's okay to have a 9-to-5 job. But that may not be enough. And Mark and I were talking before you guys got on that I had a reel that kind of went off. It's like 21,000 views. And it was just, hey, let's say you take home $80K, $50K is to living expenses, and you invest $30K each year. One is putting that $30K into real estate or putting that money into the stock market with a couple of assumptions, which is going to be a bigger return. And I haven't done the math yet. But at the end of the day, it's like having those conversations and thinking about these things. But one of the guys' comment was, okay, so I'm working, I've got a family, I'm working 9 to 5. So I can work overtime or a second job, but I'm just making money for the owner, putting money in the owner's pocket, not really doing it for myself. So what do I do? Do I spend that time with my family? Do I put money in the owner's pocket? And my response is, do your 9 to 5. But there's so much out there in this creator economy that you can find a little sliver, maybe an hour a day or hour a week, to be building your own thing on the side. Maybe it's related to your business, maybe it's something completely different, your passion. I think that's the thing this creator economy has shown me in the last 2 years. I've lived under a rock for 20 years. This is
yeah.
But if you can build something on your own on the side, it may not generate money right away, but in the long term, it's possible to be able to build something on your own. So I think that having that lane on the side that you're building on your own, which when I go back to real estate, that was for me, like once I got it and it just clicked, it's like, okay, I'm going to buy the next primary next house as a primary, turn the old one into a rental, do that a few times. And that's where the stair-step method comes from. If I can plant these seeds for the long term, now I have hope, believe that I can get out or have more control. So that to me, it's like, who's going to be teaching my 16-year-old kid, my 18-year-old kid that? It's got to be me at this point. I don't see anybody else doing it. But if there's a way to be able to systematize some of it, that'd be cool. But I think that's what we need. Generating more income, to me, is the other part of the savings equation that we don't get enough attention to. So income minus expenses equals your savings. So much is put towards expenses, which is great, necessary, but not enough towards income. I think that's the part that I believe that in the future, this creator economy will raise the national subconscious of what's possible.
True.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Mark,
cash flow is freeing is in the comments, and I don't know if I've seen you here before, but thank you for stopping by. But yeah, Chris, you're going to say something, or
Yeah, I
is
was
it
just going to
related?
jump in when you asked who will teach it. And I think that is where it could be broken. Because if you look at many high school qualifications, it's not how is your budget? How is your credit? It's what degree and certification do you have? And I think that when Joel talks about, well, it's going to be on me to teach that, that's great. Some kids, they don't have somebody there to teach them that. And is that an opportunity for the education system to step in? I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I'd love to add to this. So over a year ago, one of the TikTok videos I did was about this topic. Why aren't our schools teaching young people how to manage their money? There needs to be a course in high school as a part of a math class or something that prepares them for just basic financial literacy. And I had some teachers come after me and they said, do you think we have time for this? You know, our day is so overloaded with red tape and bureaucracy of forms that have to be filled out. And our curriculum is dictated to us by the school system. So, you know, what do you mean we should be doing this? And then I had to take a step back because my own sister-in-law teaches at a high school in Birmingham, Alabama. She teaches all sorts of math classes. And so I talked to her about it, and she confirmed that. She said, I don't have a second in my day to add in what I think the kids need to be taught, because I'm teaching the curriculum that we're expected to teach by the school system and preparing these kids for ACTs and SATs. And I would love to do it, but I have no time. On the other hand, her daughter, who goes to another school system, had a whole semester of it added in the public school that she's in. So maybe they're starting to bring some of that into public education. I know there's a program by the Junior League. That's a big thing in the South. I don't know if it's elsewhere in the country, but it's a group of volunteers, and they have a packaged course about financial matters, and they come into the school system and have volunteers who teach it. But I don't think it's as widespread as it needs to be. And, you know, to what you were saying earlier, most parents are not equipped to teach it. If you're in financial services business like we are, yes, but the average parent was not taught it in school either. So we can't expect them to bring it to their kids. It's a systemic problem.
And I'll add to that Joel gave a perfect example about how it clicked in his head. How many parents does it click in their head, but then when they go to the school and they say, I want to teach this because I want it to click in a person's head at a younger age, and they're said, well, what's your qualifications? The schools, unfortunately, in some cases, as you mentioned, they have that bureaucratic red tape. They can't pivot with the pivoting economy.
I think also one of the challenges, I don't know if it's just a me thing or if it's more widespread, but just I think the ability to take information and then actually apply it in the future. You know, I hate to bring up this is just the first analogy that comes to my head is like, okay, if you're talking to a 12-year-old about don't drink and drive, well, they're not driving until 16. They're probably not going to be drinking until maybe they're in high school at the earliest, hopefully not, but like that's what happens, right? So like if you're giving a kid that's 16 or 18 these financial literacy tools and not actually generating income, like how are they going to be able to apply it? So having that, okay, maybe it's a simple, we had a comment about a paper route. Who was that? Dennis Dirty Deeds. The only financial education I received was running a paper route.
Perfect.
Awesome, right? But like that type of thing, big or small, if you can take those examples and combine it with the education, actually real-time concepts and actual active participation, you're going to have, I think, a better likelihood of applying the information.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, for stopping by. So he also has a YouTube channel, just started. So he's focusing on real estate. He's in Florida, but I don't know. I forget which market he's kind of decided on, but go check out his YouTube channel. But yeah, he talks about it too. Like I think most of us probably read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a lot of us, that's one of the first books that kind of got us thinking a little bit differently. But Yeah, these are all great points. Like, like you said, we're thinking the system is broken, but at the same time, it's like, do we want these people teaching our kids or whatnot about financial literacy anyways? So I think Joe made a good point too about the whole social media and not influencers, but content creators. There's a lot of great information out there on education and finances. So I guess it's just filtering a lot of it out and seeing who is putting out content that's, because like right now, in the real estate space, you see a lot of people talking about no money down, and I've purchased how many $1 million of properties with none of my money and whatnot. And I think that's the struggle that a lot of us that are facing are trying to put out kind of sensible content and useful information. And I think that's the struggle. But yeah, there's a lot of great information out there. So a lot of great points. But yeah, paper route. I had a paper route, and actually, I heard Zuber talking about it the other day about how he kind of to get your kids or whatnot on board or seeing the benefits of financial education. So he talked about how like you got to kind of show them, like if you go on a trip, it's like, okay, and talk about how it's being paid for, right? Okay, we're able to go on this trip because the real estate portfolio is paying for it. So this money coming in is allowing us to, so you're kind of showing them the benefits of these other things that you're doing, is how you're able to maybe buy this present or take this activity or go to this, on this trip and whatnot. So I think that was a great point on Zuber's part. And I think that's really what I'm going to implement also is for my son, is kind of show him like how the side hustle or how real estate is paying for certain things that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got in the comments. Hold on. Cash flow is freeing. I agree. Imagine if we had these financial skills coming out of school. Yeah, but a lot of times, that's another thing too. And I keep it's in Hawaii. It's a very big issue. Like public school, private school. That's one thing that's always a hot topic. So we have some very prestigious like private schools. Like Punahou is considered one of the country's top. Like Barack Obama went there and whatnot, but it's like $30,000 a year for private school, and some of these kids are getting in first, second grade, and they're going, so it's like, how much money are you spending? And there's like the guys on my crew, they're from that private school, so they spend all this money, and we're all in the same field, right? So that's the dilemma is the public and private school also, I see.
Well, there was a article or video that I saw talking about like Montessori schools versus just regular schools. And I think the percentage of CEOs or certain billionaires or whatever, like highly people, and it was like a massive percentage of these top people were all coming from Montessori schools versus regular schooling. And again, I don't know the difference between the two, but I mean, it makes sense because they're teaching different principles. I think there was it Carnegie or some one of these big, industrial tycoons are the ones that kind of developed the current curriculum of the school system. So I don't know. I think it's interesting though.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the one thing you always worry too. Like, are you making the right decision, for your kids, right? And I also saw articles like a lot of people are talking about how it's the time that you save, right? So it's more like, if you have to if you're going to send your kid to a private school, but yet you got to sit in traffic every day, get up earlier, go to bed, it's that those type of things have a big impact on growing up and family life. So a lot of times people are looking at it a little bit differently as far as the amount of time that they're saving. And let's see, we got cash flow is freeing. I teach my boys to give a percentage, save a percentage, and spend a percentage. These three things are all must. Oh, I see Carla likes that one.
Yeah, I don't think we talk enough about giving money and how that impacts us and others.
Absolutely.
I'm a big proponent of giving money away to causes that you believe in, even to the people that I teach who are in dire straits. I recommend that even if they can only do $1 a month, it's something that creates I don't know. I'm not a huge believer in karma exactly, so I don't know what to call it. But it's a good thing. It's just a good thing.
Sure.
It
Well, I can
makes.
add to that.
Thank you.
Because you're saying that about karma. There's an economist named Robert Higgs who has done several studies on happiness, and there's a direct correlation between giving and not only living a happier life, but increasing your wealth.
It's Higgs.
Higgs. Yep.
Okay, I'll look that up. Thank you. I
I'm
believe
sorry.
it.
Wait a second. It's not Robert Higgs. This is a different guy. He mentioned Robert Higgs. Let me get his name. I did save it recently. I'll have to look in my history. Sorry. Robert Higgs is a different guy.
Okay.
Is that the Higgs boson?
What's that?
Is Robert Higgs from the Higgs boson?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, the other thing too is that, like, you know, just the process of growth, right? I mean, it's not linear, it's exponential. So these saving $1 today, right, like, is a stepping stone, a building block for being able to save 100 in a year, 1,000 in 2 years. And I think recognizing that in the moment and reframing that into a positive and doing it over and over and over again just reinforces it. And I think the mental side of things and reframing things into a positive and instead of just bypassing it as not a big deal. I think that's also part of the process that I talk about with some of my clients, is that recognizing these wins over and over, it has a lasting effect of what you focus on going forward as you're tapping into the subconscious mind over a process.
His name is Arthur C. Brooks.
Oh, I've read Arthur Brooks before, but I didn't know he said that. Yeah, I've read his stuff before.
He's kind of stopped publishing lately, but he studies a lot. He knows who to look for in the articles, and he cites them all the time.
Okay, I'll bookmark that.
So Homes and Hustles is here. Thank you for stopping by. So Sierra's here. She's on X and Instagram, and if you need any merchandise. So Matt was promoting her shirt the other day. But do you guys follow Lindsay Stamp? I know Carla does. But did you see her? Did you see her post this morning? And it's kind of how we were just talking about, maybe giving money but yeah. So it was super interesting. So Sylvia Bloom was a legal secretary in New York City. She worked for the same law firm for 67 years. During her career, she secretly copied her boss's investment decisions on a smaller scale and amassed more than $9 million in total wealth. Even though she had millions of dollars, she took public transit, lived in rent-controlled apartment, worked until she was 96. When she passed away, she donated all her money to charity. So, and then I guess her stories in the book, Die with Zero. And yeah, so it makes you, I don't know, it's a lot of money to just, hopefully, and she enjoyed her life too, though. It's very noble. She donated all that money, but at the same time, it's kind of, hopefully you're able to enjoy a little bit, in the process of it all.
And I'll say that is part of where my research for my PhD is going, is towards this. The market in the media, especially in Hollywood, is seen as something as very evil. We are all greedy. And Adam Smith, who wrote The Wealth of Nations, he also wrote another book it was called The Theory of Moral Sentiment. And what he talked about was self-interest. Self-interest is not equal to being greedy. And what my theory will be is that the market is there so it's a conduit between people helping each other. And once you get to a certain level where you're helping so many people, you become profitable. And for many of us, our help is in our daily job. For me, I'm an analyst. I help by performing all these tasks so that the university can run. And then eventually I am raising outside of that income levels that will allow me to walk away from my W-2. But I am also budgeting so that I can give to other organizations that I want to. And once you have that base level, I think it's $70,000 a year of income, your happiness, that's where your happiness grows to a certain level. Then at that level, your happiness has a marginal return. Well, I want to keep increasing that. And I believe that the market is a conduit for people to do that past that $70,000 level, where like this woman gave all of her stuff away. She loved doing that. it's very it is psychology, but as Arthur Brooks talks about, it is also evidence-based.
Yeah, and Holmes and Hustle says she just read it also, Lindsay's post, and she kind of says, different mindset, that generation. I think that was a lot of the comments that were on that tweet was, those, they were like, if you can save, you save back then, that generation, right? And so it was just a really different mindset. And some of that is kind of, my parents and myself, it keeps, unless someone is there to kind of maybe break that thought process a little bit, it's very difficult to get out of that. But I can see that happening for a lot of people back then, and just, saving money, and then your time comes and you have this wealth built up, and maybe you didn't enjoy it quite a bit. Let's see. I put Chris's link again in his X link in the chat comments. So now I'm going to put Carla's one. Yeah, I'm just trying to put it out there. So I'm practicing around having all these notes too that I can. Yeah. So Restream seems to be working much better than StreamYard. That's my one take. Carla, you were on StreamYard, right?
I've used it with you before.
Yeah. So Restream is a lot better. So I know you're looking for one to use too, right?
Yeah,
So
I did a beta test on StreamYard yesterday, and it was kind of glitchy.
Yeah, that's what I've noted. And so I'm at the, as you guys can tell, I'm not in my I'm at the station today. So I'm actually doing it just straight off of Wi-Fi, and Restream seems to be working well. So
it does. Yeah, we used Riverside FM yesterday also and tested it, and it didn't glitch at all off of Wi-Fi.
But did you determine, can you do live streams from Riverside, or you can just do recordings?
You can. It's an add-on
okay.
subscription, but it's still less priced than StreamYard.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
For the quality, like you've got to go to StreamYard's $49 a month Pro plan to get 1080, and you can get 1080 on Riverside for, I don't know, like $20 or $30 a month. And then you pay another $15 to do the add-on for live stream, and all of that is still less than StreamYard's plan to get 1080 or 4K, either one.
Yeah. None of us knuckleheads need 1080 though. I don't need to put Joe on 1080.
Oh, come on now.
I'm surprised he was here before you guys today. Usually he's the last one that shows up, and he was the first one.
Oh, I won that award today. So, Sierra, I thought the same thing on that post from Lindsay. Maybe she didn't have any family, or did I miss that part? But the thing that I commented on Lindsay's post was like, where is the balance? We hear so much about balance in our lives these days, and that I don't quite understand that all or nothing approach. I mean, obviously it meant something to that woman that she did that all of those years, but yowza. I hope she took a nice, a sedan taxi at least once in her life. Who said she did public transit at 93?
Did the RV life like Carla did. If you guys don't know, she was out living in an RV for a while, enjoying life.
I went off the grid for a little bit. It was great.
I have a question for Carlos. What do you think is the best strategy that you see your clients having the most success of knocking out debts or paying down credit cards?
Well, it's not what you hear the standard gurus teaching. I start with mindset. I start with childhood trauma around poverty and parents who thought about finances. I start with cliches that we use in our society, like money doesn't grow on trees, or, the butchered verse from the Bible, money is the root of all evil. So we start deconstructing all of that first. When I'm working one-on-one with somebody who's in financial trouble and needs to get out of debt, I have found that if we go straight into budget apps and, cut those lattes out, which I'm not a believer of that, don't eat in a restaurant unless you work in one, I don't believe any of that. I don't teach that way. and a lot of people have had success learning with that kind of education, but I go in from a financial psychology point of view first, and I found that it makes a big difference in people's lives. You've got to address our self-medication with retail therapy. You've got to address all of that. Otherwise, just creating a budget and a plan to get them out of debt is kind of like a Band-Aid. That's been my experience.
So what do you see happen with people that go through this process of really uncovering some of the deeper roots of what's going on, and then what's the behavior end up looking like coming out of it? What's different?
Well, it takes a lot of work, and the end result is that it allows that person to really go deep into who they are and what they value most about living, because our society is so loud. You know, we've got this $1 billion advertising industry, the machine, that is just pummeling us with ads all day long on social media, on television. We can't even watch Amazon Prime anymore without them interrupting with a commercial, you know. And from the time that we're a kid, we're learning jingles to commercials. You know, we know all the logos. We can identify Nike and you know, Amazon and FedEx and Starbucks. We can recognize all those logos blindfolded almost. And I call that indoctrination. So the thing that most people learn when they go through that process is that they were exposed to all of that consumerism growing up. They may have been raised in poverty, and it's all they know. They don't know that there's another way to succeed financially. They just don't know. They weren't taught the basics in school. And so they come out of that whole process realizing, wait a minute, I really don't want to drive a Beamer. Even though I think that's what I want, I really would kind of like to travel to another state once in a while, you know? So, you know, or my God, I've really just always wanted to be a musician. And why am I not putting away some money so that I can do that on the side and quit, you know, get out of my $3,000 a month house payment? That's what most people realize. They look at their checkbook balances or whatever, you know, all their transactions, and they realize that it doesn't represent who they are as a person and what they really love about being alive. It changed my life 20 years ago. I was an investment advisor who was extremely materialistic, very driven to have the biggest house in the neighborhood and to have the newest car and to wear, you know, $300 jackets and $200 sweaters and all that. And being in some trainings to help our clients with their financial planning, they made us as advisors go through this values-based process. And we had to do all this soul searching. It's like we were in therapy, you know? And at the end of that conference, I was like, oh my God, I'm a fraud. You know, I'm an outdoor girl. You know, I want to be on the river. I want to be, I want the RV. I want to be a minimalist. You know, what am I doing with this huge house with a swimming pool? And I'm spending $400 a month on chemicals, you know, and then moaning and groaning to my friends that we can't afford to travel, you know. So it was a huge transformation for my own life. So I love to bring that to clients who are looking to get out of the rat race. Sorry, I get a little long-winded with that.
No,
you're good.
So Sierra Homes and Hustle says she's been meaning to read the book Die with Zero, and she said there's more to the story, so she's looking forward to it. And Trade Better's here, another Virginia person. Trade Better 99 is here, so I just interviewed him too. So his coming out episode will be out soon. But if finance education cannot be in school curriculum, would you recommend the county's budget after school clubs competitions?
I don't know if I want to introduce students to the ability to tax at that age.
Yeah, that's a different spin
Wait, say
on
that
it.
again?
So I don't know if I want to introduce students to the ability to tax at that age. I think that some of them will probably have jobs, so they'll understand what it is, but others will be like, oh, we can just use the government funds to do this. And it's like, well, if you use it for that, you can't use it for this, or you have to raise the rate. The only way that the governments get income is generally through fees and taxes or tariffs. How are you going to generate that income?
It's gonna be a talking point tonight, probably, right?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's the debate tonight. Colby's here. All right. Yeah, he's a EXP agent, recruiting agent. So he's doing cool stuff out there. He's always on LinkedIn. He's on Facebook, all his interviews, but great insights. Once you know what you really want, you can work backwards and know exactly what you need to do. Yeah, very true. Yeah, well, I'll reach out to you, man. I gotta get you on again, and yeah, whenever I switch over to EXP. But
If
we'll
I can
chat.
add to
Where is he
that,
located? Hawaii?
No, he off the top of my head, I wanna say the Texas area. But if
Oh.
Colby, if you're listening, put in where you're at.
and if I
Sorry,
can
Chris.
bounce
Yeah,
off
go.
that, also to tie it into what Carla was talking about, is the once you know what you want, I think that, and we've talked about this, Mark, about the ego tax. We have an ego. And sometimes we're going to be like, well, you know what? I want to live on the beach. And then we move to the beach and we hate it. Those things can change. Just like I think what's happening with Carla when you have the people that you talk to, they're like, this is what I wanted. This is what I thought I wanted.
Mhm.
I have changed. I do not want this anymore. And as a former if you guys watched the video, I opened a cookie shop a couple of years ago. What does Rich Dad Poor Dad say? Create businesses because you have an asset that brings in revenue. Well, I did that, and I hated it. So I prefer real estate because I know the revenue going in. You can look at average area rents as opposed to opening my cookie shop every day, having 100 cookies, and maybe one day I sell 20, maybe one day I have to sell 220, which means my oven's running all day. I have no idea what my revenue will be on a daily basis. I mean, after a while, we kind of were able to measure that, but then we have a pharmaceutical rep come in and say, I need 3 dozen. Well, that just takes everything off. And I was not a fan of that, but my perspective changed and I wanted to change with it.
I kind of think we change with each decade,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the more we're exposed to other ways of living and other opportunities, it does change what our younger mind thought we wanted. Yeah, I believe that
Absolutely.
wholeheartedly. But I did want the RV from the time I was 10 years old. That didn't change. And I finally got it in 2020.
How long were you doing the RV? Over a year, right? Or
It's
about
got
a
a
year?
little over 2 years.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
I still have it. It's just in storage now instead of all over the country. I got kind of tired. I loved it, but it was physically exhausting with just me and 2 dogs and towing a car. And it was a really big rig. So I got physically kind of worn out, but it was worth it. I don't regret it. Greatest time in my life.
Yeah, so if you didn't see Joe Colby he's in Houston, Texas in the comment. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, so how's everything, Joe? How's business picking up? No? Slowing?
I'm starting to pick up. Yeah. Speaking of Houston, I've got a commercial agent that I've been doing some commercial stuff with, and they've got a development, subdivision that they're going to be building in the southern part of Houston. So I'll be traveling down there for some marketing stuff and doing some content down there as we kind of work on marketing the development. So just kind of coincidence.
Yeah. So I just put out an interview too with Derek Vickers from MHP Podcast. He's a mobile home park investor. So I guess he's having a fund coming out soon. So if anyone wants more information, let me know and I can shoot it your way. But yeah, I haven't taken a look at it. But yeah, mobile home park seems pretty interesting too. But But yeah, we had Kevin on the live last night, self-storage. So every time I talk to him, it's like I want to go more in on self-storage, but haven't pulled the trigger yet. But yeah, last night had me, Kevin, Matt. I don't know Kim. I don't know if you guys met Kim yet, but Kim Bishop.
I like randomly saw that pop up on my phone. I woke up at like, I don't know, 10:30. I was like, oh, it just popped up. Are you guys doing a live right now? But it was like, I guess 30 minutes old. So
Yeah, I want to test out the time and see what the interaction was at a later time. It was okay. It was probably just about the same. Different people were popping in, I think, than the morning ones. So there's a different viewership.
So what time did you start?
I
Central.
started at Central 9 p.m. Central would have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Hugo had put something out there on X, a Stay Winning podcast, about like, you know, the idea of like staying in and like going to a friend's house to like hang out with people. And it's like, got to drive an hour and then tolls and then gas and then, you know, bring a bottle of wine and then food. It's like 200 and whatever dollars when it's all said and done. It's like, yeah, I respect people's time and dollars too much to be inviting people over to hang out. And so like we had been talking and joking like, well, I'll just do like a Saturday night live, stay and chill and just talk about business and income streams and whatever. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
I don't have it scheduled yet, but probably around 6 on this Saturday night. So we'll see.
Yeah, do it, man. It's fun. Yeah, and that's probably why you didn't invite us to Florida when you had your event.
Exactly.
He thought I forgot about that, right? He had this big event in Florida. He didn't invite any of us.
I got receipts, bro. I got text receipts.
So Buzztune is here. He's up early, so he's in Hawaii also. But what is the psychology to buying? Like when you go shopping, you end up buying a string of things, or you buy a property and you quickly want to buy another before stabilizing.
Absolutely, for me.
You want to go with that one? Go. You go first.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, Mark knows. I was just, let's go. I actually just got contacted yesterday from another investor out of state, and she's looking to sell her home here. And I'm like, okay, I can pass this on to the group, to our local investment group, or I can run the numbers myself. I said, hey, what are you doing later? I want to call you. Got all the numbers down.
Yeah, sounds about right. You had something to say, Carla, on this?
Yeah, the psychology of buying. And when you go shopping and you just end up buying a whole string of things, or you buy property and then you quickly want to buy another one for stabilizing. So I just did, I do long form newsletters once a week. And a week or two ago, I did research on and wrote about those very things. So the psychology of buying and the burst of dopamine that we get during that moment of shopping and how great it feels. And we just want more and more of that feeling. And then you come back home and then how long does that last? You know, that the feeling of those new clothes or new shoes or whatever it was that you just bought, it wears off quickly. Because you return to a baseline of happiness is what it's called. And then the same thing about you buy one property and you get that huge spike of dopamine. And then before you know it, you're wanting to buy another one because you want to keep that spike up. And there's a really fancy scientific name for it called hedonic adaptation. And so that theory says that we have a baseline of happiness. And when we use purchasing to get our emotional needs met or to get that spike of dopamine, it's awesome. But then you return back to your baseline of happiness. And so you want more of it. It doesn't last. And I have found that to be so true in my own life. And breaking that cycle of using products to spike the dopamine I broke that and I consider it to be my superpower, but I'm all for buying more properties. You know, I agree that you need to get it stabilized. I have a client out in Arizona who is a really successful real estate investor. She's got long-term, mid-term, short-term. She does it all. And she's got the money to do it. She can, a house goes up for sale in the neighborhood and she can drop $800,000 cash for it and move on, But I watch her time and time again jumping into the next project before the last project is fully monetized. and she can handle it with her cash flow, but like this mental stress that puts on her is evident.
It happens to all of us, I think. It's like going to Costco, right? You go for one thing and it's like your car, and it's like $500 after that.
Yes.
Oh, Brett. Oh shit, we got to end this. Brett is here now, so he's a damn Brett, always making trouble. I thought someone hacked his account because he made a genuine comment on one of my posts the other day. I said your account's been hacked. You're too nice.
The one that was saying he was gonna unfollow you on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. But he did. That's why. So he said something nice, congrats or something on another one. I said, I think your account's been hacked, man. Hey, Brett's at Costco right now. He's probably working. He's on duty. He's a firefighter also. So he's probably at Costco shopping right now. Janitor on. What is that?
I was like, your account just went down 1 subscriber. He probably did.
Well, screw him. I'm enough past 500 where it doesn't matter anymore. But Janitor on Fire is here, so cool. Welcome, Darrow. Thanks for always stopping by. I think we upset Darrow after the other live with Lauren and Sierra, folks. There was a lot of hate in his comments. Now, because we talked about like Grant Cardone, Ramit, kind of their financial, maybe what they're putting out there. And Janitor on Fire is not a big fan of many of those guys. all his comments after the video came out like, he sucks. Screw him. But
where's Frank then? What's
Frank? Oh yeah, Frank. He's doing so he has a Wednesday Zoom calls. He's gonna possibly start putting that on Zuber's school channel. So Zuber kind of wants to have some accountability sessions. So it might actually be something that's going to transition over to Zuber's school community. So anyone out there, it's only $20 a month, the one rental at a time school community. So it's a awesome value. But yeah, so like since Darrow's here, what's your guys, since he hates Ramit so much, but what's your guys' thoughts on, like Ramit said, his is the conscious spending, right? Like that's one of the things he's kind of known for, about not really, the small expenses aren't gonna get you ahead, and it's about kind of enjoying life and spending money consciously. Though, if you're gonna spend money on certain things, you also got to realize you got to budget other places. So, but yeah, so we'll rile up Darrow a little bit this morning. But what's your guys' thought on Ramit's kind of conscious spending message that he puts out there?
I don't know that creator. How do you spell that?
Yeah, I'm not familiar either.
What? He had a Netflix. You too, Chris?
Well, here's what I'll say to that. I think Carla talked about the marketing, or that's out there that bombards us. I think all three of us do a good job of pushing the noise out.
So this is going to be an education. So Ramit,
I know of him, but I have no idea of his pitch.
Yeah. So RAMIT. I think it's SETI maybe.
Yeah, I know who it is now.
Yeah. So he's very big like on renting. He doesn't believe. Well, not that he doesn't believe in home ownership. He just thinks it's the costs, right? So. He's about being mobile and moving around and being able to enjoy life and not having these big fixed expenses if you don't have to. And so that's kind of what he's known for. And Darrow can't stand him.
Yeah, he has a huge following.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's see.
What school age do you think kids should divert from college or trades? Is it testing?
Oh man, what?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's like you don't ever want to like divert them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's kind of like you kind of want to let them pick their path. I mean, I might nudge them a little bit a certain direction, but I think, but for a lot of people, college does make a lot of sense for them, right? I mean, for a lot of people, they just, like they don't want to be doing the extra work, or it's not easy a lot of times in real estate investing, or starting your own business and things. So for a lot of people, college might be the best option for them. So you really got to kind of understand. There's my man. See, we riled him up, man. But yeah, I think it's a tough one, right? You don't want to push them in a certain direction, but I think it's really you kind of understanding. You can kind of see it, right? You can kind of see what interest your child has and what path might be best for them. But
And
yeah,
I would say this as somebody who doesn't have children, but I employed several. They weren't children; they were sophomores up to seniors in high school. I think, and this kind of goes back to the question of the guru. I think what sometimes we forget about in the U.S. in particular, but in most Western nations, the goal of the economy is to provide a higher standard of living so that people can have choice. And if that's the case, then should we be diverting people similar to a non-Western society where we say, you scored this on a test, therefore these are your 4 options for employment? I don't think that is what we're about here. And I think that telling people that they need to do that, especially for kids, I just don't think that's right. Bringing it back to the guru, sometimes I don't think it's fine to suggest that people spend their money a certain way, but if the idea is to increase their fulfillment, that's on them sometimes, that they will make their choices.
Guys, I gotta jump off.
all right, Joe. Thanks for stopping by, man. So let
Joel,
us know.
thanks.
Let us know about your Saturday night and lie or chill or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, Joel.
All right. See y'all. Bye.
It's getting to be about that time for me too.
All right. So yeah, just before we wrap it up, Brett kind of missed a few things. Pizza and Diesel, the single life. So he probably didn't hear me making fun of him. But and then here we'll part ways with Janitor on Fire's comment. I'm assuming he's talking about Ramit, but he's a politically correct liberal ass. So yeah, but yeah, this was fun. I mean, I'm glad you guys all got to hop on. Carla got to see Restream, so
Enjoyed it.
much better. Yeah,
Wow.
so it's always fun. We'll do it again, and well, actually, Chris, you able to hang out a little bit more? I want to ask you one last question.
Yeah, go ahead. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I
good.
don't know, Carla. You can hop off when you can hang around as long as you want, but
I'll hear this last question.
yeah, I kind of want to just talk to Chris about, since he's real a lot of economics and data, is kind of vibe session. You heard that term?
I have not. A vibe session, like a recession based on the vibes?
Somewhat. So it's kind of. Do you follow Kyla Scanlon? I think
I do not.
She's a younger kind of economics, and even Zuber heard about it. So it's almost as if a lot of people are saying that we've avoided a recession, and we're past.
We threaded the needle.
Yeah, but the vibes out there, right? So the data that's being put out is that the economy is strong and we're doing well. But if you talk to a lot of people out there, they're like, oh, things are expensive. I got to work overtime. I got to pick up extra shifts. So the vibe out there is not matching with what the numbers are showing. And so that's kind of where this term vibe session has come up. So what's your thoughts on that, man?
So I tweeted out a couple days ago about a article that was written where they looked at inflation based on the 1983 measure. That's when they changed it to take away finance costs, because in the early 80s, we didn't finance as many things as we do today. And what I said here on my second tweet, because my first tweet was there, is I said the consumer is much different than in 1983. Payments dictate our marginal choices, not sticker price. And then I talk about real estate. But if we were to talk about in society in general, we don't purchase a car because it's 70 grand. We purchase a car because we can pay $500 a month for it. We don't purchase a home because it's 250 grand. We purchase it because it's 1,200 a month. And so now that 1,200 has skyrocketed to 1,600. and they do not account for that additional financing in the inflation metric. And these researchers have stated that they think that could be a possible reason why our consumer sentiment is much less than what it should be based on those indicators, because the indicators are correct, but has society changed to the point where we are thinking about it much differently? And I do believe that. I think similar we talked about earlier, we change as humans. I think the economy is made up of a collection of humans, and it's not just us that's changing. Many people are changing, and the way that we make purchases, it changes over time. We are much different than it was in 1982, 1983.
I like that. I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
I do too. I would love to know more about. Did you say it's your dissertation that you're working on, or a book?
It is I haven't started writing it yet. I haven't hit my writing courses, but it is my dissertation. It's on. I go to a Christian university, and we talk about how people are created uniquely by the Lord, and I believe that uniqueness can help other individuals through the conduit of the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope to see some posts on that, whether it's YouTube or X. Yeah.
Well, I hope it gets approved. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's an okay topic, but we need to tweak it a little bit. And I'm like, all right.
All right. Well, yeah.
More.
Thank you for stopping by. Yeah.
Enjoy it as always. Thanks so
All
much.
right. Bye,
Great
Carla.
to meet you.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great one.
Bye.